Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
What a way to start the Monday out, right, John? Positive.
I know, and we don't do anything on the weekends. We don't pay attention to news. We just kind of mail it in, don't we, Brad?
No. At least I know you don't. This is the bjshow.co. That's our web address. I'm John. He's Brad. There's something like that. We get together every single weekday, Monday through Friday. We do a grueling. We're slaving over hot microphones for an hour every morning between 7 and 8. And then, but here's the interesting thing. The show lives and lives and lives and lives on the internet via Facebook, via Twitter, via the podcasts, via YouTube. And the amazing thing is, and not pounding my chest, but probably pounding John on the back, giving him the attaboy on the back because of the fact that every single day the downloads from YouTube and from our own page, bjshow.co, once again, the podcasts, the numbers just keep going up. It's crazy.
That's a testament to our audience, Brad. And first of all, I appreciate you saying that. I think people enjoy hearing you talk. I think that also it's a testament to folks who are willing to send the episode to their friends, who share it on social media. We're blessed to have a lot of people who do spread the word.
And what do? We just talk. And sometimes we talk about goofy stuff. John will get into his wrestling mode.
Which doesn't take much. To flip that switch, Brad, it doesn't take much.
Right. And I will go off on all sorts of crazy tangents. But anyway, we try to have a entertaining show. And more importantly, we try to inform people. I shouldn't say probably John's the best at that, because this is what the guy does. Every single day for the past 22 years, he puts together a website, a web page, or actually a post, I guess you could call it, on his website, which is johncombest.com, C-O-M-B-E-S-T, and he chronicles all the top stories around the state. Could be from Cape Girardeau, could be from Northeast, Northwest Missouri, could be from Jefferson City, could be from Peculiar, Missouri, where I was born, believe it or not, and that's how I turned out the way I am. And he puts it together on a website, and we start off the show. We bring a guy into the studio, and we say, okay, what are we going to do today?
We're on our way to the number one.
We're on our way to the number one story. John's going to do the top three. And now here is...
In third place.
Brad, did you know that the St. Louis Post-Dispatch editorial board has a conservative on it?
Who's that?
It's a woman named Lynn Schmidt. So they have a diversity spot, not in terms of race or necessarily age or gender, but ideology. They have a Republican spot on the editorial board, and it's filled by a woman named Lynn Schmidt. So Lynn has been writing for several years about Missouri politics, and she has a piece up today about that I linked to on johncombest.com. And here's the headline, Brad. She lives in St. Charles County, by the way. She's about 54 years old, according to the Post-Dispatch bio. The headline is, "As a rhino, I knew Trumpers would win. I didn't know how they'd make me feel." Ms. Schmidt documents her experience, Brad, going to the Missouri Republican caucuses last weekend. And just to cut to the chase, Brad, Trump supporters did not make her feel welcome. She's a Nikki Haley supporter. And she says that I'll just get to the punchline at the end of the story, Brad. She says when she goes into the voting booth in November, she's going to remember how Republicans made her feel, how Trump supporters made her feel. And the worst part, she describes the humiliation process in which a gentleman who was supporting Nikki Haley got up to the microphone and started talking about why he supported Nikki Haley. And all the Haley supporters were, quote, not just made to feel unwelcome, but intimidated and fearful.
You know,
So this is tragic if true, Brad. It's tragic that anyone would go to a political event and speak their piece and have other people provide any sort of negative feedback to them. So it's a good alert, Brad, of what's happening in St. Charles County, and it's almost as if the Republican Party is now Donald Trump's party. What do you think of that, Brad?
well, John, let me tell you, what's really interesting is you just piqued my interest there, because I have someone that I know, I've known for quite so many years, who is interesting politically, sort of all over the map as far as, she's not going to just run with the crowd. And I'm pretty sure she was at that caucus. Matter of fact, I'll have to call her to get off the air. And she was a Nikki Haley supporter, and she didn't say anything about this. So,
Well, maybe she was living in an alternate universe. Brad.
well, my homework for today, remind me of this. I will contact this person, and I'm not going to, call her out or anything like. Unless she'd want to go on the air, I'll call her this afternoon. And
Hey, and Brad, so also for folks who haven't read Ms. Schmidt before, and she has a presence on Twitter, for folks who aren't familiar with her opinions, I linked to several of her previous pieces before, and here's just a few of them. I'll tick through them very quickly. Last October, she pointed out that she's a, quote, traditional conservative Republican, but she disagrees with Eric Schmidt and Josh Hawley. Let's see, there's a whole list of these here, Brad. In December of 2022, she says she's not a Democrat, but she hopes a man like Jon Hamm would run against Josh Hawley. In April 2021, she said, I used to be a Republican, but not anymore. In 2020, she said, I'm a Republican, but I oppose Donald Trump, Josh Hawley, and GOP senators. In October, she said she's a Republican, but she supports Jill Shoup over Ann Wagner, et cetera, et cetera. The earliest one I have is in July 2018, and she reminds everybody, hey, I'm a Republican, but I support Claire McCaskill over Josh Hawley.
Well, now,
so clearly she's got some serious Republican bona fides, Brad.
hold it. One of them, you said she wanted Jon Hamm, the actor, to run against Josh Hawley.
And not just anybody, a man like Josh Hamm to run against Josh Hawley.
What is that? The battle of the dude, the good looking dudes? Is that what she wants?
I think so. Now it remains to be seen if Jon Hamm has any pirate shoes. We don't know if he has any pirate boots, as he once displayed to you and Shelley. But who knows, Brad?
Okay, once again, little context here. That would have been what? How long was that? Was that 2000?
That would have been probably 2018. And remember, Claire McCaskill was a big advertiser on your stations,
right? Well,
and that would be, by the way, a good time to point out your brand new website, aprilelection.com, if you want to plug that.
Well, the amazing thing about this story is that he showed up at a very small event. Matter of fact, I can still tell you where it was. It was on Veterans Memorial Parkway. It was in I can't remember what kind of a building it was in. It was a small building there on the south side of 70 between, it was down the street from where that would have been between Cave Springs and
the ladder factory. There was a ladder there that people can use to climb up the political ladder, right?
Right. Between Cave Springs and Zumble. And Shelley says, hey, Josh Hawley's going to be at a campaign event. So we went. So we go and we meet his campaign dude. And I know you and I have hashed this out before. And he says, and we explained to him where hey, I'm a locally owned and operated operator of radio stations. We'd love to have Josh Hawley, advertise on our station. Oh, we're going to get you some advertising. We're going to buy a lot of advertising at your station. So then Josh shows up, and Shelley and I were both sort of taken aback. Shelley and I both said, like almost at the same time, he was wearing pirate shoes. Now, I don't know what kind of shoes these are, but they were like the kind of shoes that had a big old buckle on them, and they had square toes.
Yeah, well, he is a swashbuckler.
And
that's his nickname in the Senate, Josh the Swashbuckler.
He was wearing skinny jeans. I mean, like skinny jeans. Like
now, that's where I draw the line. I'm okay with the boots, but the skinny jeans,
Sort of like painted on kind of jeans, and he's in like a button-down shirt, but he's got the tail hanging out. So, he's doing like the, hey, man, I don't tuck...
The casual thing. Yeah.
I don't tuck my shirt in. And so we talked to him. Now, the crazy part of that story was, he ended up spending $0 with the radio station. And Claire McCaskill just, I mean, to the point where, I almost bought a new car over what Claire McCaskill spent with us.
And was this on 107.1?
No, this was on KSOQ. This is on this very station, 104.5. And can I tell you something? Here's the other weird thing. In the history of me owning this radio station, if I had to put together a spreadsheet and say, okay, here's all the advertising that the Republicans have bought on my station, and here's all the advertising that the Democrats have bought on my station, I would say that the Democrats have outspent the Republicans 4 to 5 to 1 on the station. And the crazy thing is, I never even talk to any of the Democrats. They just call me up and buy ads. The Republicans, I can go. I told you the story. I've been to a couple events. I don't know what the deal is with Nick Schroer and me because, in fact, next break, I have to tell you the story, and I'm almost hesitant to tell the story because of the fact it sounds almost self-serving. But, when you get treated like crap, and some people just sort of put their tail between the legs, and sort of move on.
Yeah.
I got treated like crap last week, and not KRAP, our other station, but CRAP. And I'm going like, I don't quite understand what's going on with this. And this involves 2 people that you know. We've already mentioned one of them, but the other person. Anyway, I'm too long-winded. You get me sidetracked again. That's going to be our next break. We're going to talk about that. Okay, now.
That sounds good.
Up a notch to number 2.
A high tide lifts all boats. That's what Brad Hildebrand often says about the radio industry when we talk about folks in the radio industry helping each other out.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
A high tide lifts all boats was a headline of the Washington Missourian over the weekend, and it was about marijuana legalization. And if anybody was doubting how well things are going in the state of Missouri, take a look at this Missourian piece. It's by a gentleman named Dan Claxton. He's a features editor, and everything is good, Brad, in the marijuana industry. Companies are making a ton of money. There's no issues. And when you go through the story, which I linked to yesterday on the website, are you there, Brad?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm coughing.
When you go through the story, what I did is, as an interesting exercise, you can replace the word marijuana with vitamins, and it's the exact same story. There are no downsides to marijuana, Brad. Everybody is happy with marijuana legalization. There's no issues, nothing to see here. Move on.
Don't you find it interesting, and I'll make my little comment on this, because you know where I stand on the whole marijuana thing. But don't you find it interesting that one minute we have stories that talk about how nobody can afford anything, how you can't afford a gallon of gas. Just last week, gas like overnight went up like 30 cents a gallon.
Yep.
And, we got the, Biden's jumping up and down about shrinkflation and stuff like that. But yet people can go into the marijuana stores and buy gummies and buy all this. I'm going like, okay, now hold on a minute. If times are that bad, don't you think the marijuana stores would like...
Well, they have an inflation pass, Brad. There's no inflation does not affect you if you're high on the THC. To your point, Brad, there's a beautiful picture here. The second picture, there's a 3-picture carousel from the Missourian, and it's a gentleman named Levi Ball, which I guess we could call him Skinny Jeans Testicle. Levi Ball is holding a giant glass bong and a bag of CBD dog chews. So if your dog is a little too hype, I guess, or if your dog is having a little bit of anxiety, just go to the store, pick up maybe a glass bong, some weed for yourself, and some CBD dog chews. Don't teach your dog to handle stress and anxiety on its own. Give it a supplement, Brad.
Now, John, can I pull a crazy different tangent in this whole marijuana story?
Absolutely.
Okay, the state of Missouri still gets, and I believe this is still the case, you would know this, the answer to this or not, the state of Missouri still gets a ton of money from the tobacco makers because of the judgment that was rendered, 15 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. So I'm not up on the tobacco money.
Okay, well.
But I think that's correct.
Okay, so the state of Missouri went after tobacco producers because when you put that tobacco in that little piece of paper and you smoke it, it causes all sorts of problems with your lungs and cancer and stuff like that. Okay, so now the state of Missouri is essentially is essentially in the loop of promoting marijuana because of the fact that they're making tax money off of it. but yet nobody says anything about smoking marijuana. Does marijuana have no tar or any of that kind of stuff that screws up your lungs? I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there an answer to that?
I mean, the amazing thing, and we didn't cover State of the Union last week, but to hear Joe Biden come out and make the very, and let's face it, in some corners of the world, it's very popular. The idea of rescheduling marijuana from a Schedule A drug, which would be like heroin or cocaine or LSD, into Schedule 3. First of all, the marijuana market exploded on Friday, which had a few down days. So, I mean, that was great for marijuana. If you're invested in marijuana stocks, that's great for you. But we will see a big push for this. And according to one of the research calls that I listened to last Friday, the Hedgeye research call, Howard Penny was talking about this. And the idea that if you're the Biden administration and you think you might be on the way out, this is your shot. You got one shot this year to try to deschedule marijuana from move it from Schedule A to Schedule 3. So we're going to hear so much more about marijuana this summer, Brad.
Man, I once again, I'll never understand it. I don't get it. I'm not the kind of guy, once again, I'm a libertarian kind of guy. As far as I'm concerned, blow the thing open. Hey, if you want buy cocaine, buy cocaine. You want to shoot up heroin, hey, here's a needle, have fun. I don't just get the whole crazy thing. Anyway, just enough with me. Okay, now.
The number one
story is one that's reached national headlines, and I think it's everyone in the Missouri area has seen it. A young woman who was violently attacked after school on Friday afternoon in Spanish Lake. Brad and I are, of course, quite biased about this. We both grew up in Spanish Lake. I went to Hazelwood East High School. Brad and I both know the street on which this attack happened. This juvenile's head was smashed into the pavement at least 3 times. As far as we know, she's still alive. Probably, Brad, I'm guessing at Christian Northeast, right across the street there. The young woman, using that term loosely, who attacked her is apparently 15. Her name is out in social media. We won't say it on this show. But this young woman was attacked, this has, of course, created a furor. And the optics of this, which are always important. The mob of students, and there were several fights that were taking place at the same time. I believe the girl who was attacked, I believe she was the only white person in the crowd. And the giant young woman who attacked her is heavy and black and slammed her head into the pavement. And so a number of Missouri elected officials have weighed in on this. I know AG Andrew Bailey will be on Stephanie Bell's show, I think at the 8 o'clock hour in Columbia. He's going to be talking about Planned Parenthood, but I'm sure Steph and company will ask him about this case. Tragic that, the UK Daily Mail has stories about it. It's all over social media. And that will be our number one story today.
John, you're not going to believe this when I tell you.
What's that?
You know what street that was?
It's on Claudine, yeah.
Yeah. You know what street I grew up on?
Did you grow up on Claudine?
Yes, sir. That happened right up the street from my old house.
Wow.
I'm telling you, right up the street.
I was going to ask you because I thought you were around Francis Farms, but I didn't know what street you were on.
No. I grew up in Claudine. That happened right up I mean, literally, I could from where that happened, because when I saw that video, I thought to myself, man, I recognize those houses.
Yeah, you do.
I could walk to my house from there in not too long. I mean, I was just up the street. And
we won't belabor people with a lot of geography, but if you're ever in the St. Louis area and you get off at Highway 367 or Bellefontaine, they're the two main arteries. Claudine, the street that Brad's talking about, essentially connects Bellefontaine Road, one of the major thoroughfares, with Highway 367, the other major thoroughfare.
Right. Matter of fact, when Waste lived there, after they built Christian Northeast Hospital, that was where they dispatched the ambulances out of, and they used to come right out of. Matter of fact, in the old days before they changed 367 around, they would come across 367. Didn't used to be an overpass, but they would come across 367, and they would come right down Claudine. It was a shortcut over the Bellefontaine, and
get to Bellefontaine.
Right.
Yeah.
They would whiz by.
Just a horrible story, Brad.
Right.
And I'm sure everyone has seen it. And Mary Elizabeth Coleman, I think, made a really good point on social media, and it was directed at everybody, not anyone in particular. But she said, stop sharing this video. She said it is a video of a child being violently attacked. And she said it desensitizes us to this violence. I thought it was a good point. Of course, I had already shared it personally.
Two things.
It's just a friend of mine texted me last night, Brad, and she's like, "Hey, what happened at your old high school? Have you heard something about a video?" And I told her, I said, "Don't watch it." I said, "If you haven't seen it, it's stomach turning. Just don't watch it."
Well, it's very sad because after this poor gal gets her head bashed against the pavement 3 or 4 times, you can see she's going into seizures.
Yeah,
because
she's convulsing.
Right, and that's issue number 1. I don't even know if I want to go there with it.
Yeah, I mean, we're up against break, but I think it's probably worth having a conversation about when we come back if you're up for it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it because of the fact that the thing I wanted to say was, remind me, on Channel 5 they had the thing, Mike Bush said, "We won't show this video because it's so bad." They interviewed the guy from the Urban League, and
Brad, I was just gonna say that I have the story up. I linked to it today. Let's talk to the Urban League about how. Oh, what we need a lot more counseling. It's a glimpse into the struggles of young urban children.
Well, he says something else which I saw sort of interesting, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe he just said that. But anyway, we'll pick it up the next break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?